Kia ora, talofa, namaste, haere mai, and welcome to this week's episode of the Niche Cache Variety Show. We are from the niche-cache.com, where we serve up big, hearty, just tūmeke Aotearoa sporting yarns where you're going to learn something, you're going to gain some insights, and you're going to have a jolly old time reading about Aotearoa sport. That's what we are here to do. Is explore and celebrate Aotearoa sporting excellence. So big it up to our website, the niche-cache.com. The Blackcaps are about to start their test series against England. And for our Patreon whānau, every week we do an extra cricketing podcast on our Patreon page. So if you're into background niche cache cricketing conversations, join the Patreon whānau, patreon.com/our niche cache. All these links are in the description box to your podcasts. But Patreon is just a great way to support the niche cache and our content. So you don't need to be a cricket fan to join the Patreon whānau. You just need to be a niche cache fan. How about that one? And support the niche cache on our mission to broadcast Aotearoa sporting excellence and do it how we want to fucking do it. Join the Patreon whānau. And then there's an extra cricketing podcast at a very exciting time for Kiwi cricket fans as well. And every Monday and Friday evening, we serve up our email newsletter banger via Substack, the nichecache.substack.com. Sign up. You get all the Niche Cache content straight to your email inbox so you can get the fuck off social media. And you get extra yarns, extra content, extra bit of relevant newsy current events from our regular Aotearoa sporting beats. Sign up to that one every Monday and Friday evening. The Niche Cache delivered to your email inbox. All the links to our written stuff on our website, as well as all the links to the podcast, are found there. The Variety Show Wildcard. We need a dose of mindfulness to get us in the zone. Get a bit of a tingle in the toes. What do you got?
What have I got is Mr. Marcus Aurelius from Old Mate Meditations, who says, everything is brought about by nature, not by anything beyond it or within it or apart from it.
Folks, we know it's serious when the wildcard pulls out an actual book.
An actual book.
As opposed to like referring to one of his apps or just whatever else he's found. You know it's serious when the wildcard's referring to a book, and then the next level of that is we know it's serious when the wildcard has no reference and it's just like some mindfulness that he's come across walking through the wilderness, staring at a waterfall or something like that, and he's just conjured it up out of nowhere. Don't even know if that's actually happened yet. So we'll look forward to that one. But he's drawn from his book today, and nature's beautiful.
Nature is, everything is natural, I guess, is the point. Everything is brought about by nature, not by anything beyond it or within it or apart from it. Like there is no separation from nature, right? There's no nature versus anything other than, I guess, nature versus itself. But even then, that's like that. So when humans try to separate themselves from nature, it's like you're separating yourself. Well, if you think about what the word nature means, like you think about how unnatural that would be to separate yourself from something that is natural. Well, yeah, that's exactly it. It's unnatural. Like you can't be separate from it. You can't ignore the natural world because you are the natural world. You're part of it. You're from it. Like, where do you think everything comes from, right?
And of course, Marcus Aurelius, part of the Stoicism,
of course,
ancient mysticism ideals. So whatever preconceived ideas you got about Stoicism and more airy-fairy natural spiritual guidance, well, we just fucking combined the two. So how about you release your preconceived notions there? Let's crack into some Aotearoa Sport Wildcard. Leading us off in the Variety Show, we deliver a take. What is your take out of the chili bin for this week, Wildcard?
Yeah, dipping into the chili bin to say that... weird thing to say, but I've got an optimistic take about the New Zealand Breakers, which is that right now, the much maligned Breakers, and deservedly maligned over the last couple of years, they might just have a little bit of a window of opportunity. Like if they want to turn things around, be a functioning organization, win games and be successful again, there's a little bit of a crossroads that they find themselves at right now, which might just be like that opportunity there. So it doesn't sound like a good thing when you head up the off season and you've only got 2 contracted players left from last season, your coach quits. But after the worst season in franchise history, like maybe that's actually exactly the reset button that you need. So Modi Mayor's taken over as head coach, which is continuation from a failed regime under Dan Shamir. But Mayor has said some pretty positive things about like rebuilding the team culture and the team identity, which I also thought was funny because it's like a tacit admittance that it was broken. Like if you say you need to fix the team culture, you're being like, well, the team culture was broken to start with. So there you go. But also he's talked a lot. And Tom Vodanovich has said it recently, and Tom Abercrombie I've heard say it in media stuff as well. Like they're all talking about reestablishing the Kiwi core of the team that was in place when they were, in the glory years. So far, so good, basically. Tom Abercrombie and Rob Lowe were the two guys who were already contracted. Since then, they picked up the option on Sam Timmins to bring him back. They've managed to convince Will McDowell-White to come back, who is, as it stands, the only guy from last season who has voluntarily returned, who wasn't either like a team option or already under contract. Like he's chosen to come back. That's a good sign. And a good signing too, because Will McDowell-White, I think, is a pretty handy player who, if you put him in a better roster that fits around him, can be really effective. They've also added two exciting local signings, Dan Fotu and Tom Vodanovich. So that's 6 players they have signed currently. 5 of them are Kiwis. As far as Modi Mayor's comments go, well, that's money where the mouth is. Like you can't argue with that. He said they want to sign more Kiwis, and they're so far doing that. So now is where you hit that crossroads. Like, can the Breakers keep this trend going? Will they, avoid putting too much weight in their roster on 19-year-old foreign prospects or whatever? Will they sign imports that actually fit a cohesive style? Will they have a cohesive style under Modi Mayor? Will he be able to like coach them to victories? Can they win games, put together successful rosters under Matt Walsh's ownership? Like all these questions we don't know the answer to, and based on the last 4 years, it's hard to give them the benefit of the doubt, to be perfectly fair. But all I'm saying is that the vibes have been a little bit better recently, and I think there's a little bit of a window of opportunity for the Breakers, where if they do truly want to turn a corner and whatever, well, here's a chance. Here's a chance. They've as I say, they've got that window of opportunity right now.
Lovely. Can't go wrong with a bit of optimism, bit of hope, bit of positive energy. My take is that what Lydia Ko does on the LPGA tour and what Steve Alker is doing on the championship tour are not the same things. Steve Alker is on the seniors tour. Lydia Ko is on the LPGA tour, which is the Wahine equivalent of the PGA tour. And yet Steve Alker is thrown up as some sort of national golfing hero, where these same people were very quick to criticize anything Lydia Ko does. So here at the Niche Cache, we represent a younger wave and a different energy, and our culture, our mission and what we do is nicely displayed in this difference between Lydia Ko and Steve Alker. We've celebrated Lydia Ko for a long time and how she's battled through adversity, how she's stayed positive. We update everyone with what she's doing on the LPGA tour. And then there's this other guy, Steve Alker. Respect to Steve Alker, fantastic golfer, but he's basically doing what all the middle-aged white guys in the media wish they could do. So they celebrate him like he's a hero when he's just simply not playing at the highest level of golf. So I don't know. It's like if you're playing Premier Sports and then your dad's playing for the Masters team, but he thinks he's better than you because he's playing in the Masters team. It's like, no, you're not, bro. You're in the Masters. I'm in the fucking Premier Division, and I'm fucking Lydia Ko. So big it up, Lydia Ko. We're always here, and we ride or die with Lydia Ko. And what she does in the LPGA tour is not comparable to what Steve Alker is doing on the championship tour. And I'd say, unless like Danny Lee is performing at a high level on the PGA tour, or Ryan Fox doesn't really compete on the PGA tour. So none of those dudes are doing what Lydia Ko's doing either. So just keep that in mind. Let's run it straight into some statistical glory here, Wildcard.
Yeah, we've got this real exciting Blackcaps test series coming up against England starting in a couple days, where the first test, as always, is at Lords, the so-called home of cricket, home of the world's most famous cricket honours board as well. And I was just thinking about that, because obviously wasn't so long ago the Blackcaps were back there and they played a test match at Lords, and there were a couple of entries onto that honours board then. And I was thinking about like who else has done that over history. So peeking back at that bad boy, last year, basically a year ago, Devon Conway, 200 on test debut. He's up on the board. Tim Southey took 6 for 43 in that match. Tim Southey also got a 10 for at Lords in 2013. So he's actually on the board twice, which is pretty impressive. Only a couple Kiwis you can say that about. Kane Williamson got 100 in 2015. Trent Bolt got a 5 for in 2015. They're moving back deeper in history. Jacob Oram got 101 there at Lords in 2008. Also that same test, Daniel Vittori, 5 for 69. Mike Richardson, 101 in 2004. Matt Horn got 100 there. Chris Cairns got a 6 for 77 in the late 90s, I think it was. Dion Nash in 1994 actually took 11 for 169 at Lords, which is pretty impressive. Couple Martin Crowe tons. No surprises there. Trevor Franklin got one. 3 separate 5s for Richard Hadley. Sir Richard, no surprises there either. He also got hundreds through the 1970s for Howarth, Congdon, Burgess, Pollard, Martin Donnelly, the legend, double ton. 1949. Look that one up on whatever articles or whatever you can find on that one, because that 100 is like probably one of the great Blackcaps innings of all time. And Mr. Dempster and Page also both turned up in 1931, the earliest instance of Blackcaps getting on the honours board at Lords. As for limited over stuff, don't get a whole lot of ODIs in 2020s at Lords, but Martin Guptill did score 103 not out there in 2013. Daniel Vittori, 5 for 30 in 2004. That's it for Blackcaps and ODIs. No women on the list. That would be because the White Ferns have never played a test match at Lords. They haven't even played a test match for about 20 years, full stop. Only played 3 ODIs and 1 2020 at Lords. However, they do actually have a 2-2 record from those 4 games, which is pretty decent. Compare that to the Blackcaps in test matches. 18 tests at Lords, 1 win, 9 draws, 8 losses. So 1 win in history at Lords. It'd be nice if they added to that later on this week. But the Blackcaps, to be fair to them, 3 wins, 1 loss, and a tie in ODIs at Lords. Don't think I need to specify which game that tie was. But the loss actually was against Australia at the same 2019 World Cup. So they never actually lost to England in a ODI at Lords. They did lose the only 2020 they've ever played there, though. So that's the history of New Zealand cricket at Lords. It's at least as on the international scene. It's some good, some bad, not a lot of wins, but pointing in a better direction in the future, I would hope to think.
Well, I'm going to stay with the Blackcaps for my stats because we've got some good performers currently in operation in England. Will Young has been playing county cricket before linking up with the Blackcaps for their warm-up games. In county cricket, playing for Northamptonshire, remember last winter, Will Young scored back-to-back centuries for Durham before embarking on a rather fantastic period for Will Young in general as a batter. Will Young played 4 games, 6 innings for Northamptonshire, 331 runs at an average of 51.16, 1 century, 2 50s. So 6 innings, 1 century, 2 50s. And then in these 2 warm-up games, Will Young, 2 games, 4 innings, 121 runs, average of 60 with 1 half century. So Will Young's going all right. He's going all right. And who can forget that Will Young scored 2 centuries in the ODI series against Netherlands as well. So in his last 10 games, he's got 3 centuries, 3 more 50-plus scores, basically saying Will Young's the fucking mantis. And then I also just want to highlight Ajaz Patel because we are, well, you, Wildcard and listeners are listening to the guy who highlighted that Ajaz Patel wasn't doing much after taking big wickets against India, Mumbai Magic, all 10 wickets in an innings against India in his, home state of Mumbai. And then there's a lot of zeros. He basically took more wickets in that one test match than he did in the whole summer of domestic cricket. And I'm looking at his last 10 games. It goes 2 wickets, 0 wickets, 1 wicket, 2 wicket, 0 wicket, 0 wicket, 0 wicket, 0 wicket, 1 wicket, 4 wickets, 0 wickets. But that 4 wickets has started a nice little run for Ajaz Patel because he goes 4 wickets, 0 wickets, 1 wicket, 2 wicket, 2 wicket, 3 wicket, 2 wicket, and this becomes the best bowler for the New Zealand touring team against the counties and Sussex, I think they played. The best bowler from New Zealand in those 2 warm-up games has been Ajaz Patel. 7 wickets and an average of 24. He is the only bowler who has taken more than 4 wickets in this 2-game stint. And he also bowled the most overs, 56 overs. The next best, or the next busiest, were Matt Henry's 36 overs and Kyle Jamison's 35 overs. So not only did Ajaz Patel bowl the most overs for the New Zealand team in this 2 games, he also took the most wickets. Quite interesting. So Will Young's in good form in England. Ajaz Patel, tough summer, but he's found some form at a really great time for the Blackcaps and their touring party. Deep in the Mangroves wildcard, I believe you've taken your kayak into the Flying Kiwis realm. What's a staple of the Flying Kiwis realm in the Mangroves? Like, what are you looking at? Like a flying Bill Tuiloma?
Like, yeah, well, yeah. He's not getting stuck in the mangroves with his hops. He's jumping clean over. I mean, muddy boots is what springs to mind. You know, sprigs all caked with mud, and you got to bang them together afterwards when you get them off. And I don't think the high end professionals have to deal with that so much as the rest of us. Grassroots on a Saturday, but still,
I would envision that there's some dude in a little hut and he's the boot cleaner. And he's like lost in the mangroves and he's like just got piles of boots and he's like
been there for 20 years.
You know, those are Rivaldo's boots, and then there's Ivan Visilich's boots, and there's Maya Jackson's boots, and there's Martha's boots, and I've cleaned them all because they fucking lost them in the mangroves. Continue.
Yeah, there would be many a fallen soldier in terms of boots lost in the mangroves, no doubt. I've got a Flying Kiwis team of the season here. So I'm taking a few liberties with the word season because, like, different countries, different timings from season to season. But if we just look at the standard scope of like the average European season, think like Premier League start to finish roughly about now. A lot of these European leagues are finishing, coming to an end as it is. So I'm picking a team of the season, but I am also including players from like Scandinavia and USA whose seasons are only halfway through at the moment. But, you know, chuck in the last half of last season, no dramas. That's the scope. Obviously not a real team, just a collection of players to like shine a spotlight on. Didn't take it too seriously. Chucked it together in about 30 seconds before we recorded, but here we go. Goalkeeper, going with an elite. A lot of Kiwi goalkeepers out there, a lot of them playing at semi-like lower leagues or being released or relegated or stories like this. But an elite is currently a free agent, chose not to stay at West Ham, but playing like first professional season. And I think she played 4 WSL games plus a bunch more in cup stuff. She had the 4th best save success rate in the WSL, like of all the Super League goalkeepers. Not a big sample size, sure, but like just shows she was successful. 17 saves out of like 20 shots faced or something like that. One of the ones she conceded was a penalty. She was great. Distribution was great. Really excited where she goes with her next steps of her pro career. Right back, I've had a lot of left backs and I couldn't think of a right back other than Nico Kerwin, who was very close, but I decided in the end I'll go with Ellie Riley and I'll just pick her on the right. But to make up for playing her out of position, I'll make her captain because she's currently playing for Angel City. She is captaining them. Her pep talks are a thing of legend already. And they've been surprised, like a lot better than expected. And she's been a big part of that. So there's that. Bill Tuiloma, fella leaping behind me, scored 5 MLS goals in 14 games already, or 14, 15 games, whatever it is. He is his team's leading top scorer. They've been struggling pretty bad, actually, Portland Timbers, but Bill Tuiloma has been outstanding, form of his career. Going to write about this later this week. He's one of the centre backs. The other centre back is Abby Urseg, who, you know, leading the North Carolina Courage as per captained them to the Challenge Cup a couple of weeks ago. Of course, she's got to be there. Left back, given Libby Kikachi the nod for his first half season in Serie A, plus some decent stuff in Belgium before that earlier in the season, giving him the nod just ahead of Francis de Vries, who's also been very good for Varnamo and them getting promoted to the top flight. And they actually beat the top team on the table this weekend, which was a great result for them. Central midfield, I'm going with a 3 here, and I'm picking Joe Bell just ahead of Marko Stamenic. I love what Marko Stamenic has done on loan in the second tier in Denmark. But Joe Bell's first half of the season with Viking was just so good. And he's been a little bit less so with Bromby, just because like the team has been struggling and he's been a defensive midfielder. And that's been a little bit tough for him to deal with. But he's still done enough to make this thing. And then the other two are absolutely no doubters. Currently injured Rhea Percival, but what she was doing with Spurs beforehand was just outstanding. Genuinely like one of the better midfielders in the Super League there, and one of the arguably the I wouldn't say the team with the best, like the competition with the best teams of women's football, but the most like depth and across the whole competition. I would say the strongest league per se. So Rhea Percival's there, and so is Olivia Chance, double cup winner with Celtic, goals and assists all the time for her. Into the front three, no surprises. Alex Grieve has got to be there after his breakout half season with St Mirren. Just everything he's done, he's a no doubter. Going to chuck in Sarpreet Singh too, even though he really only played about 60% of the season because of his pelvic injury, I believe is the thing. But he was so good at the start. Like he was one of the top assist makers in the second tier of the Bundesliga. He was scoring goals as well. Real effective guy on loan at SSV Jan Regensburg. So hoping for big things from him next season. My hope is that he gets a loan to a lower Bundesliga team, so he's playing top flight. So Sarpreet Singh's there. And then the last one, some people might be surprised, but if you've been reading Flying Kiwis and listening to this podcast and all these things, you shouldn't be. Chris Wood didn't score the goals at Newcastle that he should have, but necessarily, or that he could have maybe. But his influence on that team and helping them turn around was absolutely essential. His hold-up play, the physical presence up front, helping that team play further forward, all the stuff he did for them, the selfless off-the-ball work, all of it. Chris Wood, I thought, was excellent for Newcastle, even though he's not necessarily going to get the credit for that because of the nature of his role and not scoring as many goals. But there's your Flying Kiwis team of the season. And elite, Ellie Riley, Bill Tuiloma, Abby Usyk, Libby Kikache, Joe Bell, Olivia Chance, Rhea Percival, Sarpreet Singh, Alex Grieve, and Christopher Grant Wood. Bingo.
Bingo, boom, boom, shakalaka. My Deep in the Mangroves is just on the back of my disdain for the coverage around State of Origin, fuck State of Origin. Of course, Kiwis, we all love State of Origin. We all love watching Aussies just beat each other up. But fuck State of Origin. It's Aotearoa Kiwis Rugby League. I actually think, as part of this Deep in the Mangroves, you could do Aotearoa. I've actually written about this a few times. I've made these teams up as well, which reminds me, maybe I should do that right now. The battle between Tamaki Makaurau and the rest of Aotearoa. You could also do a North Island versus South Island. There's a couple of options there if Aotearoa wanted to emulate it, but I just wanted to highlight that a lot of the Aotearoa Kiwis' best players are incredibly hot right now. They are sizzling in the NRL. The leaders, Jesse Bromwich, Jared Waidea-Hargreaves, they're trucking along. Waidea-Hargreaves was fantastic last round. James Fisher-Harris, still one of the best middle forwards and one of the best NRL teams. He's the man. Isaiah Papali'i literally doesn't stop getting better. It's kind of ridiculous at this point how good he is. He played through the middle for the Eels last week, having usually played on the edge. He's fantastic. He's the man. I think Kenny Bromwich is doing a great job on the edge for the Storm. Dylan Brown for the Eels is just on fire. That's going to be good. I think the best Aotearoa Kiwis halves combination is Brown and Hughes. Really excited to see what happens there. Obviously, going to have Brandon Smith at hooker. Who cares what Brandon Smith's doing in the NRL? Because when he chucks on an Aotearoa Kiwis jersey, that dude just goes up to a whole new level. Joseph Tapine was absolutely ridiculous for the Raiders. All you hear about is Josh Papali'i. Tapine's getting more meters. He's doing more offloads. He is straight up kind of almost as good as Fisher Harris. We haven't seen a Sofa Solomona for a while. He's been out. hopefully he can get back, because I think the trio of Fisher, Harris, Tapane, Sofa Solomona is crazy. Joey Manu, he's the man. And I have settled with leaving Joey Manu at centre because Te Maire Martin is undefeated in the NRL. Since returning from raising his mana in Aotearoa on the back of his head injury stuff, he did play 4 games of Q Cup in Queensland, but he played in the halves for Wynnum. Now he's playing at fullback for the Brisbane Broncos, and they have won 6 games in a row, might be 7. And Te Maire Martin has played every one of those games. So maybe you might see Te Maire Martin at fullback for the Aotearoa Kiwis. That's what I'm interested in. I also think Jordan Ricky's playing really good footy right now for the Broncos as well. And they're just some of the names that came to mind. Well, how many names did I have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's almost a team, and there's a bunch of other dudes playing good footy as well. Peta Hiku, who I've talked about, he's with the Cowboys. He's starting centre for one of the better teams in the NRL. He could be a factor. So all the state of origin stuff, all that other stuff's cool. But I think the Aotearoa Kiwis are playing fantastic footy right now, and their best players are among the best players every week in the NRL. And I think that's a fantastic sign. Let's get into some questions here quickly, Wildcard. I just want some footballing nous. We've been enjoying the Bill Tuiloma header party, where he just scores headers every game. What is it about Tuiloma that, break down why Bill Tuiloma, the Uso, the Aotearoa footballing Uso, why is he so good at headers?
Yeah, the context here is, I think, what did I say? He's got 5 goals in MLS this season. 4 of them are headers. 1 was a direct free kick. It's a little bit of a contrast, but that's the skill set of the man. He also scored 3 goals for the All Whites recently, which I think were all headers as well. So it's a huge, the guy scored 7 headers just in this calendar year alone, which is immense. He's just centre back too. It's not like he's up there for every single cross that goes into the box. A lot of set piece stuff here. And that's where it starts. I think it's him being able to, he's a target. He's the kind of guy that you look for, whip the cross into the area where Bill is, and he'll go up and win it. How he does it so well, technically speaking, I think it starts with, because you look at him, I've tried to find out how tall he is, and I found different things. I didn't think he was, I was thinking he was 5'10", 5'11". I've seen stuff that says he's that. I've also said stuff that says he's 6'1". So I don't know exactly how tall he is, because different websites that I've found have said different things, but he doesn't look like the tallest guy in the area when there's a free kick coming into the thing, but he jumps higher than anyone. And that's where it all starts. He's got great leap. You just look at, if you're on the YouTube here, look at the picture behind me and see how high off the ground he is. That's insane. Because he doesn't strike you as a Cristiano Ronaldo style athlete who could compete at the high jump, but actually maybe he could. He's that good. But also, I think you got to have strong core, strong neck muscles and stuff like that to win headers and get over the top of them, to power them, direct them, things like that. So obviously he's got all that covered. The timings of the runs, I would imagine, is also part of it, but also the strength just to be able to and above all is the way that he leaps. That's the thing that always constantly astounds me. But I think the second undercover factor here is just courage. He sticks his head into places where someone else's boot might be going. He will attack the ball bravely, and he will get there first, sort of thing, because he's making sure he does. All of that combined, plus I guess there must just be some uncommon knack or something as well, stuff that's hard. But also, I think Portland specifically, they're targeting him. Like I said before, they're looking for him. That's part of what's unlocked him as well. So all those things combined makes for just an outstanding header. And he's playing with some guys in Portland and for the All Whites who are very good crossers too, which helps. And basically, it's if he's not if he's one-on-one, he's probably going to win the header. He's not necessarily going to score, but he's going to win the header. And if you give him enough of those, he'll score enough of them. So That's Bill Tuiloma, header master, basically.
That's how you become better at headerer. That's how you become a better headerer.
Yeah, there you go. Better headerer. I got quickfire stuff for you back in return on this Blackcaps versus England Test series.
Make it quick.
These are just like quickfire kind of responses. First one, Ajaz Patel, over or under 0.5 wickets in the series?
Over.
In other words, will he take a wicket?
Over.
There we go. Will Young score his first Test century in the series?
Yes.
Kane Williamson, over or under, this is a very specific number, over or under 216 runs in the series?
Under.
Under. Interesting. The reason I picked 216, that's exactly how many he scored in the IPL. So he goes over that in a shorter series. That would be golden. Colin de Grandhomme, 6 or more sixes, yes or no?
No.
Fair play. And I wasn't sure which way to go with the last one, which is Kyle Jamieson. I was thinking at first, will his batting average for the series be above his bowling average for the series? And then I thought that's not quite fair because you don't expect runs from a guy batting at like 8 or 9 or whatever. So I'll say, will his bowling average be under 25?
Yes.
There we go. So we've got Ajaz Patel to take at least 1 wicket, Will Young to turn up, Kane Williamson fewer than 216 runs, Colin de Grandhomme will not hit 6 sixes, and Kyle Jamieson's bowling average under 25. We'll assess this back in a month.
Now that I've had 30 seconds to think about it, Kane Williamson would definitely score more than 216 runs. But
there we go.
Hold me to my immediate answer, and we'll check in with those. Because as soon as
it's hard to judge because we don't normally play 3 Test series.
Well, as soon as I said it, I was like, "Fuck, I love Kane Williamson, and like he's going to score runs, and it's going to be more."
Well, if he bats 5 times, let's say there's one innings where he doesn't have to bat, rain or whatever. If he bats 5 times, he would have to average what, like 44 or something. If he bats 4 times, he would have to average 50, 53 or something around that range. So that's not. Like his career average is about 52, so it's not out of the realms.
Musical jam. I'm gonna big up Josie Moon, Aotearoa artist. She's got a new jam, Just Fumes. That's a pretty cool jam. Shout out to the Aotearoa music there. Josie Moon, probably a good little rabbit hole just to explore if you do like bit of the indie, funky, Aotearoa poppy kind of music. Josie Moon, check her out. And there's a dude, Protege, who some people might know, some people might not know, but he's kind of like a bit of a modern Rasta man. Got a bit of the Rasta wisdom. Do love a bit of the Rasta wisdom. Bit of the modern sound to go with that reggae Rasta man vibration as well. As we know, big up the roots reggae music. Do love a bit of that. And I did enjoy the new song, Protege, Ancient Steppin', which is like some Rastaman spelling of ancient, I would imagine. Your musical jam, Wildcat.
Yeah, I heavily anticipating new albums from Ty Segall and also OCs, which like 2 of my absolute top tier musical acts. I quite dug Sky Ferreira's new song as well, which is an album that's been at least like 5 years in the waiting. That's one of those like Frank Ocean type situations. Other than that, I wouldn't say there's any albums that came out in the last week specifically, but a lot of stuff that I've been re-listening to ahead of like as I've been writing my album jukebox entries. So like the Fontaines DC album, Kurt Weill, Kikagaku Moyo definitely. Weather Station, Emma Ruth Rundle, a heap of things along those lines. I had like 12 albums on the short list of stuff I'd listened to, and I was like, well, I'm not going to write for all of these. So I'm going to have to work out which ones are best here. And as to what I did work out as best, well, people just have to read the article tomorrow or the next day and find that out.
big up Aotearoa, big up Aotearoa sport and Aotearoa music as well. I think we consistently state that Aotearoa is the best sporting nation in the world. I'll chuck the creative antics up there as well. You know, people working on big movies, big programs, big shows, big content, and big music as well. Like Aotearoa has a fantastic record of musical stuff. And I'd say KG for KG, probably the best musical nation in the world. Like, we've had international hits. We've got our own type of music. We've got bands that tour the world just based on, you know, their Aotearoa soulful music, which is pretty fantastic. And yeah, I don't know. Big up Aotearoa music. Big up all the creative people churning out their visions from Aotearoa as well. So hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back with another niche cast on Thursday, which will feature more sporting kōrero from Aotearoa. So look forward to it. Big things happening right now. Busy time for Aotearoa sport, and we're on top of it all. Kia kaha. Stay beautiful. Cha-cha.